Welcome everyone to the Plant Docs January 2026 cooking class. And today we're going to be creating your own soup using kind of like a template. So you can make it with the foods that you love. For anyone that just signed in, if you can just mute yourself. And anyone new to Zoom, in the upper right corner, you can toggle between speaker and gallery. And let me just find who I need to mute. There you go. All right.
And Sandy, could you pin your speaker view as well?
Yeah, it is, Wendy. I'm not sure why on your computer you're not seeing it, but they
Okay.
are both pinned. I'm going to just double check. So what I usually do is that I have two views. One is my cooking view and one is my talking with my hands view. And when you have it on gallery mode, you'll be able to see everyone if people are cooking along. And if you have it on speaker mode, then the food items will be larger. So tonight we're going to be creating our own soup. And I just want to show you, if anyone new to Plant Docs, I know a lot of familiar faces out there, but this is what we call our Plant Docs plate. And it's just, our version of what a healthy plate should look like. You want to have fruits and vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and healthy fats, ideally as part of every meal. So my goal here with this soup was to achieve like a full meal in a soup. Thank you. So for my grain, and you can use whatever whole grain you want, like ideally a whole grain would be something like sorghum, which is a gluten-free grain similar to farro, which is a wheat-based grain. Or you could use a pasta like or orzo or a tiny one. I'm traveling right now, so this is what I happen to have, and it's a whole grain rotini. So I would start by starting your grain, since it's a 1 hour class, and some grains take 40, 50 minutes if you're making barley or something like that. So I'm going to have one pan that I'm going to put on high, and I'm going to just cook my pasta, which of course doesn't take that long. But I just want to do that in case somebody's making barley or farro that takes longer. All right. And then we're going to get started with our create your own soup. And first I'll just go over the kind of recipe, like the template. We're going to start with aromatics. And so what I'm going to use is a red onion. I'm going to do celery and carrots. And mushrooms are going to be part of my vegetables. I'm also going to use garlic and ginger for my aromatics, but I'm not going to add them in the beginning because you get more nutrition out of them if they're added a little later. And also for my vegetables, I'm going to do broccoli and zucchini. And I always count tomatoes as the fruit because it's more acidic and it's going to help increase absorption and affect the flavor of the soup. For the protein or legume, I'm going to use navy beans, but you could add 1 or even 2 cans of whatever beans you want, or even cubed tofu. And actually what I'm going to do is one of my cans I'm going to put in the soup, but the other can I'm going to puree so to make it thicker. It's a way of making like a creamier, thicker stew without adding like cream. And then for my leafy green, I'm going to use collard greens. And my broccoli, of course, is that. And then you want seasonings and umami. So for umami, that flavor that's kind of salty, savory, rich, I'm going to add a little miso. And at the end, I'm going to brighten it up with lemon and cilantro. So let's get started cooking together. So I'm going to start with my red onion, and I'm going to dice it. And what we want to do, what we want to achieve, like just some general cooking things. I have everything out here on the counter, so I don't have to go running around looking for everything. I have this tiny little cutting board because, like I said before, I'm away on vacation. I'm in Key West for anyone, not to rub it in because I know like the the whole country is getting bombarded with this snowstorm right now. Um, and I'm in this beautiful 75-degree island. But I am coming home soon. But I have fewer resources here. But even like on vacation in a tiny kitchen, you can make this work. So onions are pretty magical. I'm going to cut this in half and use the whole thing. But most of my vegetables, I like, you want them to cut them when they're on a flat surface so they don't roll around. I have a little scrap container here that's just right off camera. That way I don't have to keep running back and forth to the sink. And it just makes it more efficient and neat and easy at the end. So for soups, the rule is, unless you're going to puree the whole thing, which I'm not going to do, you want things in bite-sized pieces that are going to cook evenly. Now, for the onion, I'm going to dice it because I want it to cook pretty quickly. And I'm going to cook it so that it's like a little caramelized to add extra flavor. So as I was saying, onions, they're part of the allium family, and they're, as far as food as medicine goes, they're pretty potent. They help with hypertension, they help lower cholesterol, they help with glucose control and diabetes for anyone who has prediabetes or diabetes or just a rising A1C. Why take a drug when you can use your food as medicine? So that's what we're all about here at Plant Docs, is food is medicine, culinary medicine, how to eat to live and thrive and have a healthy longevity. So what's happening as we chop up these onions, and I'm just going to turn my burner on so this is, I would love a stock pot. I don't have one. This is my largest pan. So I'm going to just put my heat on here. Let's see. The digital stove, not used to. I'm going to put it on like 5. You don't want to like boil stuff to death or, the lower the heat, if you have time, the more nutrition that's going to be retained in your food. But as you're chopping this up, you're breaking the cell walls and you're releasing all these enzymes that activate the phytonutrients and antioxidants that are locked inside of this food. The same thing happens when you chew it, by the way. If you were to just take a bite out of an onion, the same thing would happen. But the beautiful Mother Nature package that this onion comes in, is meant to hold on to that nutrition until we're ready for it. So that's the beauty of cooking with whole plant-based foods. You have this magical thing. It's potent now. It like smells, it burns your eyes, it makes them tear. This is all the good stuff that's in there. All right, so the other thing we do at Plant Docs is we don't use oil, hardly at all. And so we're just going to dry saute this onion. So I'm just putting this in a medium hot pan. And I'm going to let that cook. It's just, I have it on 5.5. Anyone means anything to anyone, but on this stove, it goes up to 10. So it's kind of just medium. For my celery, I'm going to just cut it the long way first. I have 2 stalks. And these are all considered the aromatics. They're the things you add first that you could build just about any soup off of with these flavors that are pretty mild. And I'm gonna cut them, you know, like a lot of sticks, so that way I can just go across and cut it that way. But my water's boiling for my pasta. And again, my first choice would be more like barley, farro, or sorghum, but here we are. And just gonna cook what I have left because we're leaving in a few days. And Wendy, can you just let me know when 8 minutes are up, please?
Sure.
All right, thank you. So celery, and I forgot to mention the onion also has anti-cancer properties. The as does celery and all vegetables, but there's actually an active ingredient in celery that is very similar to a one of the chemotherapeutic drugs. Kind of fascinating because you know most of our pharmaceuticals and drugs originated from stuff in nature. All right, that's my 2 stalks of celery. And then I had bought a bunch of baby carrots to just nibble on my long drive here, which I never ate all of them. So I normally buy whole carrots and peel them and cut them up, but I am gonna make do with these baby carrots. Oh wait, someone's in the waiting room. Joy. I have to keep remembering to check that. Sorry, Joy, if you can hear me. I don't know how long you were in the waiting room, but I just saw it. Welcome. All right, so I'm gonna turn my pasta down. I like gas stoves so much better. I don't know about you guys, but the electric stoves are little slow to respond. And our carrots, of course, have the vitamin A and carotenoids, which are precursors and have anti-cancer properties. So I'm just cutting up these baby carrots that I'm going to add to my onions, and the 3 of them together, the French word called mirepoix, I believe, which is a starter for a lot of soups, this trio. So no oil, and you know, we're doing great. Nothing sticking. It looks fantastic. Some people like cut everything up before they ever get started. I just think that's great and super organized, but and some people think it actually saves time, but I feel like, well, I'm waiting for the onions to cook anyway, so I can use my time while the onions are cooking to chop the carrots. So if you guys have any questions, put them in the chat and we'll address them as we go if we need to. So I'm going to add all of this to my onions. And oops, got my wrist. So these are all diced, you know, the carrots, the onions, and the celery are all similarly sized. I might need to use 2 pots. It's already like a quarter of the way up. I thought this was going to work, but we'll see. All right. And then as that's cooking, I can get my other veggies ready. I am going to add, I love garlic, and garlic's in the allium family with onion. So it has a lot of the properties that we were talking about as far as food as medicine. I usually do that smashy thing to break this. These have particularly hard, kind of crusty shells, peels, if you will. Sometimes they're paper thin, but these are like very tough.
Sandy, Eileen
Yeah.
has a good question about are there health disadvantages to buying pre-cut veggies, fresh or frozen?
Yeah, it is a great question. And um, I always kind of say the answer to these kinds of questions, it depends. If you're not going to eat them otherwise, then buy them frozen, cut up. Like if it makes you eat veggies that you wouldn't ordinarily eat, then of course it's better than not having them. Is it better? Is there an advantage to having them fresh? Yes. I think some of the nutrients are lost when they're pre-cut. So like if you buy a bag of broccoli, for example, that's all pre-cut, ready to go to just drop in the pan. That's great. It certainly saves a lot of time, but all those cell walls that were cut when it was pre-cut and all the awesome stuff that was released is going to be gone. So there is a decrease in the nutrients for sure. But, I always say with the caveat, especially for people that are new to this and like, oh my God, all the chopping, like this is ridiculous. I can never do that. And if buying it pre-chopped or frozen um, just works for you, that's fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks. And that you've got 1 minute left on your timer.
Oh, thanks. Also, frozen veggies, for the most part, are great. Um, but they do blanch like frozen broccoli, spinach. They do blanch it, which means they dip it in boiling water, and boiling water does deactivate some of the sulforaphane, which is like one of the precious anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory molecules found in broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage. So it takes away from it a little bit. Um, but again, it's better than not having it. And then, so speaking of that, so like here's a broccoli, which is a cruciferous vegetable. It's just like the onion and the garlic. When you chop it up, you're breaking the cell walls and releasing these active ingredients. I'm going to check my noodles.
Yeah, your timer's up.
Thank you. Let's see, that is this one. Okay. So with the veggies, you have to think about how soft or hard, how long they take to cook. Some veggies are very quick, and we're going to add at the end, like my zucchini. I'm going to add this at the end. Broccoli takes a little longer, and mushrooms don't take that long, but I'm just going to get everything ready. Let me try my noodle. Perfect. I am going to drain my pasta. So just keep an eye on your grain. Or you could not cook a grain. That's fine too. So here's my mirepoix. The onions are translucent. The carrots and celery are starting to get soft. Yes. So I'm going to add in the hard part of the broccoli, which are those base stems. So as far as the cancer, what we were talking about with the broccoli and the onions and the garlic, the sulforaphane. So there's something called glucoraphanin. It's not important that you remember all these names. It's just kind of cool that we know all this, that there's food scientists out there that know there's glucoraphanin sitting in here waiting to be activated into this sulforaphane, which is a super powerful anti-cancer molecule. If you cut it up and let it sit, it keeps working because the enzyme that's being released is activating and it's working. So what I try to do is chop any cruciferous vegetable ahead of time and let it sit for 5 or 10 minutes. So that's what I'm doing now. If you have any, for a veggie, you could also add like cabbage or cauliflower. Those are all cruciferous veggies. So you want to chop those ahead of time and let them sit. But I'm going to add the bottoms just because they take longer.
Sandy, there's another question. I believe I know the answer to this, but would kale stems be okay as well? And I think that those are tougher. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are tougher. They're not edible, but they're not very pleasant. I did take a cooking class with a Native American chef from Minnesota when I was out in Napa. And one of their kind of philosophies in cooking is to waste nothing. So they would strip the kale stems, but then they would take the stems, like if this was a kale stem, and he would do his little chefy thing where they would like mince the kale stem and then he would use it in cooking. So I do appreciate that, minimizing waste. I usually throw them out, just to be honest. I've never done that, but I thought that was really interesting. So I'm cutting up my mushrooms. Mushrooms also are one of those very nutritious foods. It's kind of in a food group of its own because it's not in the animal or plant kingdom, or it's in the fungi kingdom. So it makes sense that it has special gifts for our body that aren't found in other vegetables. So I love having a box of mushrooms and adding them wherever I can. So I just took 5 big ones that I'm slicing up. All right. So now you can add some of the spices. Like if you're going to use a bay leaf is something that I often use in soup, like minestrone. I'm going to add my garlic now because those are pretty, coming around, pretty well done. I'm also going to add a little ginger. Ginger is another kind of really powerhouse as far as food as medicine. Mixing in the garlic. So I did buy ginger when I came down here, and I'm just going to grate it directly into my soup pot for just to be really fast and easy and efficient. The skins are going in. It's grating up, so I'm okay with that. I'm probably adding a couple of teaspoonfuls. And this is going to give it some nice, interesting flavor. And then also, because I'm on vacation, there were no spices here. So I went out and just bought this all-purpose salt-free. It's from Simply Organic. It's called Spice Right. And it's just a combination of a bunch of spices. It smells amazing. It's everything but salt. It has some thyme, oregano.
Sandy, there's a question about are ginger skins okay to eat? And I'm guessing because you had such a small amount that it's fine.
Yeah, it has more fiber. My only hesitation is, if it's not an organic Ginger, it might, I don't know if the skins would be more contaminated. So yeah, I eat the skins. So I added 2 teaspoons of that kind of multi-spice, and now I'm gonna put in broth. I'm using this Pacific organic veggie broth I found down here that's low sodium because I want to control the sodium myself. And this is 4 cups. And if you end up needing more liquid, you could add water, which is fine. You can use water, not broth. You can use homemade broth from leftovers. And now I'm going to add the rest of my veggies that don't take, that take longer. That's what I'm trying to say. So what I'm going to add last is my zucchini. I'm going to add my tomatoes now, and I'm going to add my leafy greens. I always add last because they don't take long to cook, and I don't want to overcook them. I want them to keep their bright green color. That was my hesitation with the broccoli too. I don't want it to turn that kind of dark green color. So this is what my soup looks like now. Like not enough liquid. So let me add my diced tomatoes and see what happens. I'm going to add the liquid and the tomatoes. Tomatoes have acid, and acid helps with the absorption of nutrients. So this is all I could find down here, which is fine. Organic stuff is less common, or it's harder to find. So this, I could totally, I'm totally fine. This is going to be amazing. It's more like a stew, but if I want, I could add more water. But as the vegetables cook, it's going to get more liquidy. Turn it up a little bit since it needs to heat up. I'm going to cover it while we do the next steps. And I'm just going to clean up a little bit. One thing that Chef Laura taught me, who sometimes does classes with, is like a wet paper towel under your cutting board. Keeps it from moving around. I like that. Right. Oops. Still there? Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna get my zucchini ready. Zucchini is a common vegetable that's added to minestrone soup. And is usually added toward the very end. So I'm just gonna I'm making little quarter rounds, I guess you'd call them. And they're pretty thick because they're not going to take that long to cook. If you added these in the beginning, they would end up falling apart and being all mushy, and I wouldn't want that. So that's that. So I could do this. Add our beans. I'm gonna open these. I'm adding 2 cans because I want my soup to overflow. No, I want more protein. Because this is the main protein. Let me see. These are navy beans. These are one of my favorites because they're smaller and they're white. They're very neutral, but they're easier to digest if anyone has gassy problems with beans. The navy beans are smaller. And these have 6 grams of protein and a half a cup, and there's 3.5 servings per container. So what's that? 18. So a little over 20 grams of protein if you were to eat the whole can. But if you put in one can, right, and it gets all diluted with all the other stuff, you're going to get less protein. Does that make sense? So hang on, gonna I need a strainer. All right, here's my pasta. So not only am I going to add the whole can of beans, I'm also going to puree a can. And you want to rinse your beans because there's this polysaccharide coating on beans that makes it gassy too. That's harder to digest. So if you rinse them, that will help. Even canned beans, if you soak them, like if you really have problems, if you soak them for 30 minutes before adding them to the soup, that can help. But I just rinsed them enough, and I'm going to add 1 can of beans. So that's my longevity legumes. I felt like in the new food pyramid, beans, which, oh my gosh, there's so much science on the health benefit of beans for their fiber, they're anti-cancer, they help lower cholesterol, they help lower blood pressure. They're so good for you. And most Americans, like some people never eat beans. I think they should, like, if we're going to go with an upside down pyramid, which I don't think that's going to stick, but beans should be at the top. That's my opinion. All right. So my second can of beans, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to drain them and rinse them, but then I'm going to blend them. Have we gotten like another 3 inches since the class started?
I think so. It's blowing around out there for sure.
Oh, I do like storms when you don't have to go anywhere. So I have this blender here. It's not like the best blender, but it's a decent one. But anyway, I'm gonna see. You know, this probably will work a little bit, but the other thing I can do is add some of the soup into the blender is another way to make it thicker after it's done cooking and puree it down. But I don't really want to I don't want to puree my soup. Like I want all the chunks. I want all the bits of vegetables. I'm gonna turn this up a little bit. So, oh my God, it's looking amazing. Oh, it's very heavy. I'm excited about the broccoli and the mushrooms and with everything else. I don't normally add broccoli to soup, but why not? We have a delicious cream of, I remember posting it once, cream of broccoli recipe. All right, and this is for the end. Not going to salt it yet. I'm going to wait till the end. Oh, I'm going to add these now. This is, I literally brought these with me. It's one of my favorite spices. Chipotle. They're red pepper flakes, but they're chipotle red pepper flakes. They just make everything taste delicious. And a little bit of heat. You could add a little cayenne or hot chili peppers or jalapeno peppers. I love adding a little heat to soups to just give it another dimension. That. I'm also going to add, I brought my own miso with me too. Smells so good. But miso is a probiotic. It's live. You don't want to add it you want to add it at the very end when it's done cooking. Oh, here, someone must have come off and came back on. Um, I'm glad no one's having like outages. All right, so I have my zucchini I'm going to add at the end. I'm going to try to blend my beans. Wait, here's someone else. It's Marie. I might need to add a little water or a little veggie broth. Like the way they're blending, they need a little bit of liquid. And this, I don't know if you can see me over there. No, you can't. Like I blended and sometimes I've added a little bit of water. It's working pretty well, but I pick it up every few and do this to get like, mixed up and then blend more and then shake it and then blend more. It looks pretty good. It's my blended beans. Can find a spatula. All right. I'm gonna hold off on adding that. So we had a cooking class the other day in our Jumpstart. Our Jumpstarts are 1 month um, plant-based immersion program. I know a lot of you guys have done it, but for anyone who's not familiar, we have this. It's called Jumpstart Your Health. And it's like an opportunity to see in 1 month, like how low you can drop your LDL, get your blood pressure down without medication, start getting your diabetes under control. And it's educational programs plus cooking classes. And we do an assessment of your blood before and after your labs for fatty liver disease, diabetes, inflammation, and the full lipid panel. So we're in the middle of a jumpstart right now, which is really fun doing it from here, I have to say. I love this work remote if it means I can escape winter, even just for a few weeks. But we were supposed to be cooking with Swiss chard. Swiss chard doesn't exist down here. It's like a cold weather crop, and even kale. I could not find kale, Swiss chard. I found one really pathetic bok choy. All of those are like cold weather crops that grow, so much better in the north. But I found collard greens, which is a warmer weather crop. So I got the most enormous bouquet of collard greens for $5. It just seems like a bargain as far as nutrient density and nutritional value. So I like cooked the whole thing up. So that's why I'm not using, normally I would be showing you fresh greens, but I made this whole thing and then I froze it in bags after I cooked it. So I could add it to soups or, any bean, any green, any grain or whatever that I'm making. So this is the green I'm going to be adding and it's already cooked. Normally I would add it maybe about now.
Sandy, can you talk a little bit about the health benefits of zucchini, if you know them?
Yeah, I feel like it's not a powerhouse as compared to like this does not compare. Collard greens are just so nutrient dense. These have a ton of water, so they're great for hydration. Honestly, I would have to look up like which vitamins are in here. Um, there's some fiber. I can't think of. That's funny. I was thinking that the other day when I was buying it because I do like zucchini, but it's not like, I don't know. If anyone knows, please speak up. I can look it up, but
Yeah, I'll look it up.
I'm sure I'm sure it's good for you. I don't mean to, sorry, zucchini. I don't mean to say anything bad. It's not known for like being super nutrient dense. Um,
High in vitamin C,
ah,
B, and minerals like potassium, manganese, magnesium, and phosphorus.
interesting.
That says good for supporting immunity, blood pressure, nerve function, and energy.
Wow.
That sounds like a good one.
Yes, it does. All right, my soup is boiling. We just want it to like simmer. And again, with the electric stove, it's like now it's, boiling too much. I'm gonna check my veggies because it's really about the carrots, those, we pre-cooked a little bit. So now it's the broccoli that's in there.
This is 2025.
I'm gonna check the carrot and a piece of broccoli. The mushrooms look pretty good. So this seems like a good time to add in my zucchini. Keep the questions coming if you have any. All right. The carrots, it's not mushy. I don't like things mushy in general. A lot of soups, everything's mushy. I would rather have soup um, that has some texture to it. It's a personal thing. So probably needs another 5 minutes. But one of the things I love adding to soups, which, is in our kind of template for making a soup, is leafy greens. Throwing in spinach at the end, throwing in kale. Kale is great because it softens up, but it holds its structure, doesn't like turn into mush. Collard greens, bok choy. So I'm adding my cooked collards now. It's gonna give it this beautiful green color scattered throughout along with the beans. And now I'm gonna add in my pureed beans. They don't want to come out. Come on, beans. This is going to thicken it up, but I also want them to cook along a little bit along with the soup. This is optional. You don't have to do this, but I love how it's going to thicken the soup and increase the protein. So it's really this, my bowl of soup is going to have 40 grams of protein just from the beans.
And Sandy, if you had both, would you use the red mellow miso or would you use a sweet white miso?
It doesn't matter. The red one has a little more flavor, a little more intensity, and the mellow one's more mellow. It's like the name. White miso is more mellow. It's gonna be it's not gonna be a dominant flavor in the soup. It's gonna just give it a little umami. So either one. All right. So just try to get this cold collards mixed, my puree. So now it's like, maybe move this over. Um, looks amazing. So the only thing left is my miso, my lemon, and at the end, like when you're all done, is when you would do like the lemon, the miso, any fresh herbs. like it's more like a garnish. The cilantro is what I'm gonna use, but fresh parsley would be great, fresh dill. One thing with spices, you don't want to use too many. You don't want to use everything in your spice cabinet. You want to kind of pick things that kind of pair well together, like cumin and coriander. Um, of course, everything goes well with garlic. Um, Paprika is a very strong flavor, but that would go well with onion powder and garlic powder. Um, and dill and lemon and salt and pepper go nicely. And then the more like, if you think about like stuffing that has like rosemary, sage, thyme, those always go well together. But then you wouldn't want to throw in dill and paprika. That would be too much going on. And so sometimes simple with spices is better. Pick your favorites. But as Wendy was telling me earlier, like she will make a soup. Like this has a ton of stuff in it. That maybe just has two vegetables in it, which is fine too, right? And like one day you could make that with lemon and dill and salt and pepper. And then another day you could add rosemary and thyme, and they're going to be very different soups, right? Very different flavor soups.
Sandy, can you talk a little bit about what miso is?
Yeah. Miso is fermented bean paste. So soybean paste. So they take soybeans. I've never made it. I don't know. They ferment it somehow. So it has the natural bacteria in it and then they package it. So it ends up tasting umami. So it's salty-ish, but it doesn't raise your blood pressure the way salt does. It doesn't have the same effect. So you can use it as a salt substitute and it's much, much healthier. And you're getting a probiotic for your gut health. Just gonna roll my lemon to help it get juicy. And when you add lemon, again, it's an acid like the tomato, so it's going to help with one of the bonus things it does in this soup is the collard greens are very high in iron and calcium. They're the greens highest in calcium. So if you're interested in improving your bone health and getting more dietary calcium, collard greens is the way to go. And you get more calcium if you eat it with acid. So you could put a teaspoon or two of balsamic vinegar, red wine vinegar in your soup, or you could add a little bit of lemon. And you want to do that at the very end, like heat off end. And it takes a soup from being, really good to kind of, like a little elevated when you add the lemon. And then when you sprinkle a little parsley on, delicious. So I'm going to just check my zucchinis.
And just
So,
a quick reminder for folks to go on mute, please. Thank you.
It can help. Oh, a hot, but the zucchini is already done. So to me, sorry, mouth is full. This is done. Water. All right.
And did you add the miso, Sandy?
I did not. So I did not add. So I shut off my heat and I'm going to do that now. I only have a little bit left, but this is probably about a tablespoon, which is good. I was just waiting for it to kind of stop. I'll tell you what I do actually when I make miso soup, just to reinforce this point. I take the miso like this. Like I said, I only have a little bit left. So like for me, like I would want all this just in my bowl. And when I make miso soup, I don't put the miso in the soup. I actually put it in the bowl like this. I learned this from Brett Mayette of Conscious Cuisine. And then I put the soup in and mix it around. Like just to like you really don't want to cook your miso. Although you do still get benefits from the metabolites of the miso. So it's not all is lost, but then, but we're always talking about maximizing nutrition. So just like to point out all the ways you can do that. Because, right, you go through all this trouble, you don't want to like kill all the good stuff. So I wish I had more. I might add like closer to 2 tablespoons. So I'm stirring that in. Another way to do it is to take some of the soup out, like in the bowl, dissolve the miso like that, and then put it back in to make sure it gets, distributed and there isn't like a lump somewhere. But I'm just going to give it a good mix up. So
We're seeing some great pictures on the chat of your
ooh.
soup.
And now I'm going to add, I have a fresh lemon. I'm going to add my lemon juice. I'm not sure I want to put the whole half a lemon in, so I'm going to do it and taste it. That's the secret, right? And also salt. I haven't salted it yet. It may not need much salt. So we're going to try it. So how I would plate this is some noodles in the bottom. And that's it's delicious soup with the broccoli, the tomatoes, the zucchini. And then I'm just going to cut up my cilantro a little bit, or you could put it in. The pieces are fine. I love cilantro. I know not a lot everyone likes cilantro. Parsley would work well too. And that is the soup. It's easy to make. And then I also want to, like, oh my God, what am I going to do with all this soup? Say like it's just me. So what I like to do is not take this whole thing and put it in the fridge. Like I'm going to have a good bowl tonight, and then I'm definitely going to have it for lunch tomorrow. So I'm going to put it in a container that's the size of tomorrow and for maybe a friend or a neighbor. And then super cubes are on our website under our shop. If you haven't seen them, they're great. They're like 2-cup or 1-cup portion silicone freezer cubes. So you can put like 2-cup, after it cools, 2-cup serving that has a lid, and then you freeze it. And then you can pop them out and store them in Ziploc baggies in the freezer. So then for a lunch, like if you don't want to eat this every single day for an entire week, then you can, like next week you can have some, and the week after you can have some, and you don't have to worry about food prep. So this is, part of this is so you have meals for a long time.
And just a quick clarification on that, Sandy.
Yeah.
The link, it's in our Amazon store.
Amazon store.
So that is on our website. If you go to our website, you'll see a link to our Amazon store.
So how's everyone doing? Did anyone cook along and want to show me? I didn't get a chance to see the pictures. It's great. I love when I love seeing all the comments. Excellent. Good job, you guys. This is wow. Reagan, awesome. Lynn, delicious. Look at these bubbling stews. What did you guys use for veggies? I'm curious the different variations that people use, because I love that this wasn't like there's only one way to make soup and it's this way. This is like no, there's like a gajillion ways to make soup. So, Lynn, what did you put in your soup?
I pretty much put almost everything from the list, but I just like made the portions smaller. I added black beans and cannellini beans. I pureed the cannellini beans. I pureed it with a couple ladles full of the broth.
Oh, great. Yeah, I love
Yeah, and then
doing it that way.
I added spinach, and then I had some of the Mrs. Dash no salt table herbs, and I added that.
Great.
Yeah, and then I've been like making my grains, like been doing all my grains, like mixing them together. And so that's what I had. I had some leftover grains that I had cooked.
Oh, great.
We've got lots of people adding to the chat, so thank you. I'm seeing sweet potatoes, green beans, cauliflower, kidney beans, lots of things from people's gardens, which is great.
Excellent. Good job. Good job, everyone. Well, thank you for coming. In February, our next class, and as you know, I kind of missed what Wendy said in the beginning because my mother called and anyway. I know this is our fifth year of doing whole food, plant-based, no oil cooking classes. And every year we have a theme. This year, they're quick and easy. So they're down to 60 minutes. They've always been 90 minutes, but we thought, let's keep the recipes simple and just do it for an hour. Something that you can make again and again and love. Let's make them free because, I just thought it would be more accessible to more people. We want our programs. I would rather have, 50 people on a call for free than just a few people that are paying. That said, we are a nonprofit at Plant Docs and our programs rely on donations. So we're so happy all of you can be here, and but if you can make a donation or you would like to make a donation, we welcome that. And it's fine if you didn't today. If you wanted to make one later, you can just go to our website, plantdocs.com, and scroll to the bottom, and there's a donate button. But the donations are optional. And I mentioned the Jumpstart. I also do one-on-one consults. I just wanted to mention for people that are new, if anyone's interested in an MD level nutrition consult to talk about food as medicine and how to improve your health with food, that's what I do. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. This was fun, and it was great to have so many people on the call. The recording will be available. Wendy will send it out, and then they'll be posted on Zoom. So enjoy your soup.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, Doctor.